Introduction to Alliance Gaga Rampage. Host. Faker player, what do you think of simple players? Faker. They all say I'm the Demon King, and I think he's more like my nightmare. He not only defeated me, but also stole Enjing and let me walk all night in the heavy rain. Host. Excuse me, little dog. What kind of person do you think Simplicity is? Uzi. Although this guy is usually very fierce, he is even more aggressive during matches, especially when facing external matches. RNG, Jian, S7 champions place in order. IG, Jian, S8 champion assistance. Follow-up S9 champion winning single. S10 champion playing in the wilderness. S11 champion AD. Who said that after the puppy retires, LPL will no longer have AD? Chapter 1. Gaga Suicide System. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Easy, take the takeout. A shout came from the training room, and as he was about to click on the option he wanted, he was distracted and clicked next to him. Oh, I'll go. Seeing oneself click on the assist option, I feel anxious in my heart, but regret is useless. He went out to bring back the takeout and sent it to the training room. When he came back, he saw the full assist options and was about to cry without tears. After finally having a system, I don't have to be a golden boy anymore. I didn't expect to make a mistake. Who wants an assist? Who doesn't want to kill on the professional stage? Hey! Turn off the system called Gaga Suicide, simply sit in front of your computer near the water dispenser, and open a game. It was originally possible to kill on its own, but now it can only be a quack. It was his teammates who killed indiscriminately. The full assist system is also known as the thigh-hugging system. In the game, as long as you hold your thighs, you can improve your personal attributes and help your thighs lift their weakest points. For example, a player with a bad mentality, after simple binding, doesn't have to worry about lack of confidence and explosive mentality. For example, a player who is plagued by injuries and illnesses, after simple binding, there is no need to worry about poor physical condition, which will affect their performance. If I could play, then my own brother. I simply remembered the fate of my own team, that brother from my own family, but his mentality was not very good. If I had bound him myself, what are you thinking? Shaking his head with a bitter smile, he simply threw unrealistic ideas aside. He is not his original form, as he has traveled through time, his actual level is only around gold. When facing professional players, he will be hit by a hammer, so he has no chance to play. Be a good substitute for me, and the salary of the substitute is also good. It's better than going to the factory to tighten the screws. After comforting myself, I simply saw that I had found the match and clicked OK. With a furrowed brow, the lava beast. Without the original level, it is extremely difficult to simply play high-end games, and it has already fallen from being a master to a diamond. This is because he knows that his strength is poor, so choosing a tough guy is the only way to have a 35% win rate. At this point, a stone man was chosen to go on the road. In simple terms, as long as you don't die online, play a big team battle, suffer damage, and your mission is completed. Enter the game, purchase equipment, and start a simple and normal game. On the opposite side of the road are weapons, simple and without even the desire to consume. Looking at each other across the river, peaceful development. Simple and clear purpose, never die, try to repair the knife as much as possible, and if not, gain experience. It is necessary to ensure the level of the stone man. In the high-end game, the opponent is playing very cautiously, so I don't know if it's simple but strong on the outside. We steadily reached level 4 along the way. Suddenly, in a simple view, a dashed line appeared on the screen, spreading from the feet of the stone man into the river. Rubbing my eyes, there is indeed a dotted line. Realizing that it might be his own cheat, he glanced at the military line and simply plunged into the wilderness. At this moment, their red side's field excavator and Zhongdan Yasuo have already engaged in an encounter battle with the opposite Zhongye in the blue side's blue buff area, forcing the opponent's middle lane Ice Girl to run towards the river. It's a pity for the two of them on the red side, they can only turn their heads and output the blue side to fight against the blind in the wilderness. A dead friend never dies in poverty. After escaping a disaster, Ice Girl breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that the two people across from her had not caught up. She entered the grass in the middle of the river and clicked to return to the city. But he didn't expect that at this moment, a cute stone man came over and walked to the end of the dotted line. At the corner, he found a bloody ice woman in the grass. Subconsciously throwing a stone to greet and then outputting. Although it's only at a golden level, he knows what to do when he sees a residual blood. Ice Girl didn't expect a stone man to come over at this time, with all his skills and full health, as can be imagined. Although the level of simplicity is not high, it is not difficult for stone people to operate. On the public frequency, a question mark was placed on the blue square for the middle single. Mine, I thought the stone had gone to the river to poke an eye. The weapon didn't expect the stone to go around the river and pick up a head, but they quickly admitted their mistake. Upon seeing her teammates reply, Ice Girl took a deep breath and resurrected before returning online. Pretty Red Fong Zhongye and his two companions thought that Ice Girl had escaped, but at this point in time, Stone Man would come to support them and even took away the remaining Ice Girl. They quickly gave a thumbs up. Our side is a strong player in the wilderness, it is recommended to bind. At this moment, hold your thighs. The Gaga indiscriminate killing system has a prompt. Thighs. I simply remembered that I hadn't hugged my thighs yet, so I quickly chose to go wild. He took a head and returned to the line. He was always careful not to give the weapon a chance to consume himself, so although the weapon was about to move and put a lot of pressure on it, it just couldn't find a chance. Faced with an opponent who would rather not take the military line than fight against you, I am really helpless. After returning to the city, Xiaobing Xian came out directly with a pair of shoes and enough mana. He often threw stones from afar, making weapons very annoying. Occasionally, Jian would also check the position of his teammates. He couldn't play well on his own, but his teammates were good. He should do his duty as a tool. Zhaoshuyuan.com however, after binding his thighs, he found that his thinking was much clearer and his operations were much stronger than before. At least not being knocked down by a weapon. At this moment, the familiar dotted line reappeared and extended from the upper road all the way to the lower river channel. Simply shift your perspective and look over there. There's nothing there, and it's not realistic to walk over there. It's too far away. Although I don't know what the dotted line is, I still decided to believe in the system. Twice, he took down the front line of the troops, took a few steps back, returned to his defense tower, and directly teleported the red side down to the second tower where the weapons were not visible. At this point, the middle and lower field of both sides began to take shape, and they fought fiercely for the Bruce Lee. Seeing that the team had already started fighting, the simple control stone man who had just landed quickly ran over. Arriving at the pass where you enter the blue buff, there is still some distance from the point marked by the dotted line. Simply fly over with a big move. At this very moment, several people from the blue side flashed one after another to avoid the attack from the red side. The stone man zoomed in first, and these few people seemed to be trying to cooperate with him, hitting the landing point with a big move. In the next moment, they immediately rose into the air. For torso, as long as I'm fast enough, my teammates won't be able to catch up with me. What excites OSO players the most is the 5 dashed lines. At this point, there are not as exaggerated as 5, but there are also 3. At the moment of seeing the dotted line, OSO did not hesitate to press the gust of wind and cut it off. Next is the 3-kill prompt from Yasode. Hey buddy, have a great time. After winning the 3 kills, Yasuo quickly said hello to the older brother in the previous order. Is this the big brother? No, this is the top single dad. Chapter 2. Coach Behind. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Surprisingly, dog anchors also have highlight moments. In a live broadcast room with only 100 people, one by one, speeches emerged. In order to make up for the length of the live broadcast, a simple live broadcast room was opened. Although he doesn't want others to see him being beaten up, there's nothing he can do about it. Since his rebirth, he has not had the level of his original self, and the high-end game has been heavily beaten. His rank has been declining all the way, and the people in the live broadcast room are enjoying it. At this point, seeing that Simple was actually performing well made them think they were mistaken. The dog anchor should be stable now. Yi is the factory director. Someone is speaking at this moment. With this sentence, a stone stirred up 1,000 waves, and the quiet live broadcast room instantly became lively. Words like 4396, Guadian, the national team losing to the provincial team, and the 10,000 yuan economic downturn have emerged. In addition, some people maintain that the two sides are arguing fiercely. However, I didn't look at the barrage while focusing on aligning the lines. I am already not strong enough, where can I distract myself from watching barrage? Host. Simple. ID, Jian operation. 45 mentality. 85 consciousness. 50 team. 60 reaction. 75 health. 94 points. 173. This is a simple personal attribute. 60 is considered the passing line for a professional athlete. Apart from his mentality and reaction, his other qualities are simply not commendable. Although 1,000 points can increase personal attributes a bit, after playing for such a long time, I have only accumulated more than 170 points, and now I can't get any more. Because in the system judgment, in order to obtain points, at least 3 masters or more are required in the game. Fortunately, I have a good mindset because I have a simple understanding of my own level. In fact, his previous attributes were even worse. He spent some time in the high-end game, and although he was constantly beaten, it has to be said that he is very good at honing people. Binding thighs, operation. 84, gradually decreasing, mentality. 90, veteran players, consciousness. 95, top wild, team. 89, top grass eating, response. 83, gradually declining, health. 88, regular schedule. Seeing the gorgeous data on my own thigh, I simply admit that I envy it. At the same time, it is also speculated which professional athlete this thigh is. It is precisely because of this thigh that it has increased its attributes by 10% that it makes simple alignment less uncomfortable. Especially after supporting the opponent on the way down, although they didn't take the lead, the assist was still quite expensive. When they went back to updating their equipment and returning to the line, the weapon on the opposite side faced the big lump of rock and had no intention of attacking at all. Knowing that one's own strength is not good, the simple solution is to fold the line and hide in the shadows. If there is a dotted line, follow the guide and run. If there is no line, you can set up a maze to give the opponent some pressure. Whenever the stone man disappears online, the opposite side becomes very nervous. The stone man with great moves has too strong a deterrent power. Especially Yasuo Tianfei in the middle, combined with the stone man, is completely explosive in an instant. The weapon is very restrained, giving off a feeling of having no place to use it despite being full of martial arts skills. He is not without an online rock shooter, but once he takes action on his own, the opponent cannot fight back and chooses to retreat instead of fighting him. It is not realistic for the stone man to directly retreat without fighting back, and if he wants to cross the tower with weapons to kill him, he may even be killed by the stone man under the tower if he becomes radical. The anchor's support is playing well, but it's a bit too timid online. In the live broadcast room, some viewers are subtitled. Especially after recognizing that Yi was the factory manager who had just concluded the World Cup, many people stayed in this live broadcast room. Although they simply ignore them, these people are also speaking and communicating on their own. Although as soon as they entered the live broadcast room, they saw Chang Wei beating Laifu. Ah no, the weapon hit the stone man, but it has to be said that the support of the stone man was really good. Whenever it was crucial, he helped his teammates establish an advantage. Although his own economy seemed average, the advantage of the team members was established. Low-end support can easily lead to self-destruction, as everyone is playing on their own. But in the high-end game, sacrificing oneself and establishing an advantage for teammates can truly lead the team towards victory. Just like now. Many viewers who have been watching Simple Things in the live broadcast room have found that simple blue-collar job placement seems to have really gained some recognition. In their view, the genius young man of simplicity, who gave up his best warrior on the single and specialized in training this type of tank hero, was naturally for the opportunity to play. After all, the current situation is just a substitute for Let Me. If you want to play, you naturally have to compete with Let Me. Although I struggled with hero training before, now it seems that I have abandoned my online skills and have done a good job with simple support. What's the point of being a small anchor here instead of going to the competition and gaining fame? A barrage appears. Unfortunately, I didn't even notice the simplicity of focusing on the game. After obtaining a 10% attribute bonus from the factory manager, although it did not reach the passing line, it was already very close, and the change it brought was that the blade repair became more stable. Previously, due to weak basic skills, I occasionally missed the knife, but now I can basically eat it all. At this point, I estimate that I already have an average diamond level. This is just online. With full support for wandering, he keeps cutting screens and following other places. Whenever there is a chance, he will wander. Although the success rate is not high, the existence of the stone man is a deterrent. And once a dotted line appears, making a move is a ultimate kill. It is precisely because of simple self-wandering that the success rate of the dashed line's ultimate kill is lowered. In the eyes of others, it is just that the frequency of wandering is quite high, and the effect is also good, not that it can catch people 100%. After Yasuo got up, he went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and finally fought 5 stone men. Yasuo finished with the 5 kills. Simple has finally achieved its first positive record. 1/0/17. This record is very magnificent for him. The previous record was really dismal. I also received 4 likes at the same time. This means that my performance in this game has been recognized by my teammates. You played well. A compliment came from behind. Coach. Seeing the person coming, Jian quickly stood up. Don't get up, keep hitting you. Firefox, RNG head coach, also known as Funga. Press on the simple shoulder and let him continue the game. At this moment, he was still thinking about the previous game. After the training match, I came out and wanted to get some water to drink. When I saw that Jian was ranking, I started watching from the side. He knew that during this period of seeking transformation, he gave up his skilled warrior hero, and the effect was average. But now it seems that it's not entirely the case, at least this kind of support is very spiritual. It seems that the performance of the top stone people is average, with poor data, but in terms of supporting wandering, it can be said that they have reached the extreme. Why does Stone Man need such a high economy? Just have a great team to help establish an advantage, and this goal is very clear. The young man has a promising future. He was thinking about the next game, and they were about to face an esports powerhouse, RNG's arch-nemesis. SKT. And on the road, it is precisely their weak point. It seems that it is not impossible to turn a disadvantage into a team advantage on the road. Chapter 3. Storm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother Feng stood behind him, feeling a bit nervous, but after entering the game, he didn't have time to think so much. He still chose Tank Hero. Especially considering that he needed to walk and dotted lines appeared, sometimes he was a bit late and missed opportunities, so he directly chose Sean, abbreviated as the old driver. This thing can fight online, fight in groups, and most importantly, it can support. After entering the game, the simple gameplay was like a mudslide. At first, it was okay, but when Sean's level improved and he cleared the line a few times, he couldn't even see anyone online. You don't even know if he's gone home, wandering in the wilderness, or providing support. Invisibly, it puts immense pressure on people. Brother Feng behind him nodded secretly. I played psychological warfare well. The opposite side also felt pressure, and the other two lines began to be cautious. In addition to setting up doubts, simplicity is also a true support. Relying on clever driving or teleportation always has unexpected effects. Sometimes he thinks it's meaningless, but often the result tells him that simple judgments are more accurate. After watching the whole game, Feng Gu had a deep impression of the simple support ability. As the head coach, he certainly doesn't have time to stay on a substitute all the time. The semi-finals are about to begin, and he needs to care about a few talents on the home team. After Feng Gu left, Jian finally breathed a sigh of relief. It's like being stared at by a teacher, with Brother Feng next to him, he's really under too much pressure. After the absence of Brother Feng, simply continue with the ranking process. With the help of the system, after entering the game, binding a thigh with additional attribute bonuses, the simple win rate has finally improved, and one's own rank can finally be raised. Although it may not be a 100% victory, in the high-end game, having someone who sacrifices themselves and contributes to the team like this is too easy to snowball once the advantage is determined. Although there are occasional teammates arguing, hanging up, giving heads, and so on, these are still rare. After playing at a high intensity for 14 hours a day, he finally returned to the level of Diamond 1, often encountering kings and masters to increase his points. Although one move only has 5 points, playing a few more moves and performing well can earn more points. Of course, the competition gave more. It's just a pity, I can't make it to the stage easily. Stretching lazily, he took a moment to glance at the live broadcast room and was briefly taken aback. The live broadcast room, which used to have only a few people, was bustling with activity, and a group of people were arguing here. After reading for a while, I realized that these people were arguing for the factory director. EDG is in the top 8 every year, and this year it has even surpassed the top 8. It was eliminated from the top 16. EDG has already taken early leave, and team members are unable to find anyone at this time. At this time, the factory manager's account was discovered, and he did not open a live broadcast himself. These people have nowhere to go, so they can only use the simple live broadcast room as a venue for their venting. Seeing the speeches of these people, I simply recall the turbulence of the past period and let out a sigh. The factory director has a vague reputation as the world's #1 wilderness fighter, but this time in the world competition, it can be said that it is not guaranteed. Last year, a 4396 score made him suffer from ridicule across the internet. These people are not aware that LPL has no minimum, only a lower level. Currently, 4396 seems very outrageous, but based on future experiences, 4396 is actually quite good. Is that all? I can do it myself. Such remarks are rampant. Mainly this time, EDG's performance was too disappointing. As the #1 seed of LPL, he unexpectedly lost to the provincial team, and his economy was overturned when facing SKT, leading 10,000. It's no wonder fans don't buy into all these things. Especially Abu's remarks have pushed all of this to the forefront of the storm. EDG is also jokingly referred to as Guardian. A group of people discussed for a while, and in the end, they pointed their fingers directly at RNG. They have high hopes for RNG, but they are also worried that the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment, and their emotions can be said to be extremely complex. RNG and SKT can be said to be archenemies. Or rather, SKT is the nemesis of RNG. In BO5, RNG has never won against SKT before, and the encounter between the two in the semi-finals naturally raises concerns. Especially in so many years, LCK has won so many championships and SKT has also won 3 championships. Now they are starting to strive for 3 consecutive championships. Although there was a curse on beef noodles before, Faker has indeed made a profit, but this kind of mystical thing cannot be trusted. These people are now very concerned about the overall state of RNG. Coincidentally, they are just RNG players. Although they are only substitutes, they are also people who can have close contact with players. Anchor, do you have confidence in facing SKT? It should be possible to have a puppy on the road, right? This year is the down road version, and the puppy is on the road. Who are you afraid of? Without waiting for a simple response, a large number of comments emerged like snowflakes. During the World Cup, especially when it's held at their doorstep, these players really care too much. Especially this year is the next version, they are too eager for a championship. Every year is a hopeful year. Zhaosuiyuan.com but S4 Nami's bowl of beef noodles has gone bad, while S5 and LGD have gone bad. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. This year is also very promising, with all 3 members of the royal family participating in the World Championship, which is the most glorious year. Although EDG has already been sent home, the factory director lost the competition and took the subway back alone, then began crazy qualifying training. But there are also RNG and we. In the top 4 now, 2 LPLs and 2 LCKs are already unimaginable results in the past. Especially at night, the anti-Korean hero fought fiercely in foreign battles. Some people still regret why it wasn't we playing SKT and letting Xia play Faker. The main concern is that RNG's performance against SKT has always been worrying. Of course, this is only a concern for some people, and most people are still very optimistic. After the puppy arrived at RNG, this all-China class was formed and the results were very good. This is the next version, and the strength of the puppy is highly recognized by both those who like and dislike it. You can say he hung up while taking a shower, or you can say he has a bad mentality and is prone to getting drunk, but there is no doubt about one thing, which is his ability to line up. The powerful suppression of the opponent on the way down is the reason why he has attracted so many people. For a full-screen barrage, there is no response. If something is said at this point and misunderstood by someone, it will be a huge rhythm. Fortunately, he has never responded much to the audience, and opening a live broadcast is just a task, so the audience is talking to themselves and there is no expectation that he will respond. Ignoring these off-screen viewers, simply continue to rank and strive to earn more points, improving your basic strength. Chapter 4. Semifinals kick off. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On October 27th, the game ended once again, earning 5 points. Quickly starting the next game, I saw the settlement information on the system panel and raised my eyebrows. A normal match can earn you 5 points if you win, but surprisingly, an MVP can add an extra 20 points. This is still the first time I have received an MVP, so I know this information for the first time. His playing style makes it really difficult to win the MVP. These days, with a simple frequency of around 30 matches per day, I have returned to the king with a winning rate of over 70. Although the record is average, it is very easy to win the game with this ultimate support flow, abandoning one's own development and helping teammates develop. I played for 2 days and won more than 40 games. Not only did I return to the king, but I also brought in over 200 points. But that's all for the simple journey of scoring. October 28th, Saturday, Double Ninth Festival. Although it may seem simple, for League of Legends, this is an unusual day. Today is the day when the semi-finals of the global finals begin. RNG vs SKT. Although as a substitute, there are hardly any opportunities to play, I still hope that the team's performance can be better. Although as a reborn person, he knows what the answer is. Magic City, an international metropolis, is also the starting point for the semi-finals of this World Cup. Before the game even started, a group of people from RNG Club arrived at the venue early. Feng Gu is like an old lady, nagging and admonishing several key players. Upper order let me, De Yi spicy pot, Zhonglu Xiaohu, Xiaolu Uzi and Xiaoming. Of course, in the past time and space, the substitute brought was the regret of Xianggua's substitute playing wild, but now it has become simple. At this point, simplicity is just a small transparency, and the starting lineup has nothing to do with him. Therefore, he just quietly guards the water dispenser, hoping to finish the game early and then return to continue qualifying. He is preparing to boost his ranking and earn more points. It's not easy to add some attributes, so he can only work harder. Quickly, under the official announcement, the starting players, substitute players, and head coach all took to the stage, simply showing their faces. However, this was also his only chance to show his face. Afterwards, he disappeared into the darkness again, and the 5 spots on the spotlight did not belong to him. However, when it comes to my own strength, I have a clear sense of self-awareness. When I come on stage at this time, I am being beaten by Huni. BP started on the field, and as expected, Faker's Gario was released. And the first scene was also an easy flattening of SKT's base, causing the audience present to cheer like thunder. Winning the mountain like SKT is really exciting for LPL. Just that the good mood didn't last long, the second SKT put in a lot of effort, and Faker's Gario flew off the road whenever there was a chance, numbing the RNG crowd. Fortunately, the third UZI pulled out his famous hero, Night Hunter Wayne, and finally won a game, giving priority to the match point. Looking at the rest room, RNG staff, like other spectators, sighed with optimism. When he watched games in an internet cafe back then, he had the same mentality as these people. Prioritize winning 2 games and gain a psychological advantage. The pressure is directly on SKT. As long as SKT is won, many people believe that RNG's strength is greater than Samsung's when facing Samsung with a score of 3.0. Unfortunately, in the 4th round, there was still an advantage in terms of manpower in the early stages, but in the end, the other party took advantage of their operational advantages and gradually operated RNG to the death. Although it has a head advantage, the economy has never been able to pull it away, and the meat on the opposite side makes it impossible for the little dog's mouse to move. Although Xiaoming's star mother sacrificed her life to procrastinate, it was of no use. After the 4th round, the excited venue suddenly became silent. Not only the contestants, but also the audience present at this time is very stressed. After the decisive game, the pressure instead came to RNG's side. The more advantageous it was before, the heavier the pressure it carries at this time. And at this point, there was even more uproar online. At the beginning, when I felt stable and reached the match point, I naturally had an advantage psychologically. But unexpectedly, they were pulled back into another round, turning the original BO5 into BO1, and both sides returned to the starting point. Winning is blowing, losing is black, it has been like this since ancient times. Previously, there was a lot of hype about RNG, so now the argument is quite fierce. The statement that SKT is a mountain that RNG cannot overcome has reappeared. And those who originally maintained RNG had the intention to refute, but the performance of the RNG crowd made it impossible for them to refute. The RNG 5 people who returned to the lounge all had very serious expressions at this moment. The third one was actually a burst of puppies, with Wayne leading them to win a game. And this time, the people who were completely pulled by the other party were all dizzy, and then the base was flattened. Seeing that the 5 people who came back were not in high spirits, Feng Gu did not reprimand them. It was time for the decisive game, and the more reprimands there were at this time, the more it would be detrimental to them and not conducive to future matches. It's the last one, we can't put pressure on them. At this moment, taking advantage of the short rest time, let them go to the toilet, drink water, and adjust their state of adjustment. He looked at Simplicity, but in the end, he suppressed his own thoughts. Finally, we must seek stability and trust our team members. In the lounge, the little dog and a few others greeted everyone, quickly adjusted their state, calmed their mood, and closed their eyes to rest. Playing 4 consecutive games, they are tired and hungry. Especially the match just now, which consumed them too much energy. When listening to the precautions reminded by Feng Gu, they all closed their eyes and listened. As a little transparent, simply use your phone to surf the internet. What he was thinking was that after this game was played, the club would be on vacation. He had to use these few months to accumulate some points and improve his strength. I can't be a substitute for the rest of my life. Although the substitute's salary is decent compared to the average office worker, it is still a youth meal, and it is unknown when someone will be kicked out. Besides, having the opportunity to engage in this industry and having a system in place, who wouldn't want to make a name for themselves on the field and prove themselves? Although my simple strength is not enough at this time, I still have ideas in my heart. At this point, he didn't have a chance to play. All he wanted was to rank more, earn points to improve his strength, and also find opportunities to leave RNG. After all, this team understands everything and doesn't want to be fooled by simplicity. Think about the experiences of Xianghua, Xiaogo, and Ashui, which are truly heart-wrenching. Chapter 5. Substitute comes on the field. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the 2017 League of Legends Global Finals and Semifinals. This is the Oriental Pearl TV Tower, the magic capital of Shanghai. I am commentator PDD. I remember. I am Xiaopao. Remember to take a breath and look at the 2 people next to you. Are you too nervous? I'm nervous, but for all the LPL viewers, their hearts have already reached their throats. PDD answer. I'm already very nervous. Yes, it's 2.2. We will soon welcome the battle song, the game of life and death. I believe Royal Never Give Up, this all-China team, today, will definitely defeat SKT and end their dream of winning 3 consecutive championships. The audience below were all boiling with insults and encouragement. After many years, the puppy once again encountered an archenemy like SKT, hoping to defeat Faker and win that trophy. RNG Lounge. Lower the board, Gario. Faker's support is too fast, I can't handle it. The little dog grinned bitterly. After finishing pushing the opponent's middle lane, they fly straight off the road. Often, 4 people come to play mahjong, and no one can handle it. Let him take it, other heroes, I'm afraid I can't withstand it. Xiaohu said, but his voice unconsciously decreased a lot. It was so difficult to fight, and to a large extent, he had to bear the blame. It was precisely because he couldn't beat Faker, and in order to take care of him, BP was actually very difficult to do. I don't think Gario is a problem now. We have played 4 games and won 2, which shows that Gario is not an insurmountable point. After all, Faker is an old player, and the hero pool is too deep. If we let him carry heroes, it will be even harder to deal with. Feng Gu calmly spoke up and analyzed. At this time, we cannot put pressure on the team members, otherwise it is very easy to get into trouble. Simply and quietly listen to their discussions, remain silent, and honestly guard your own water dispenser. Looking at his own panel, he thought to himself that when the contract ends, he should choose a new team next year. At RNG, he probably won't be able to wait for the opportunity to play. Coach. At this moment, Let Me, who had placed an order, suddenly looked at Feng Gu with a pale face. Juanza, what's wrong with you? Seeing his appearance, Brother Feng's heart skipped a beat. The final game has come, but don't let any problems arise. Changing generals in the face of battle is a great taboo for military strategists. My stomach hurts. Let me looked at Feng Gu with a very uncomfortable expression. How could this be? Feng Gu was a bit restless, and the most worrisome thing became a reality. Can you persist? Not very good. Let me's forehead was covered in weak sweat, which was clearly very uncomfortable. Next, keep it simple. Taking a deep breath, thinking of the scene he watched in the training room, Feng Gu could only calm his emotions and choose to let simple play. At this point, there is actually no choice left. They only have one substitute, simple. Ah! Upon hearing that he had to go on stage, he was momentarily stunned, feeling very surprised and even more anxious. He wouldn't be kicked out of shit by Huni, would he? That guy is a vegetable masochist. Don't be too nervous, all you need to do is resist pressure. Show your composure and just hit like that. Feng Gu patted his shoulder, telling him not to be too nervous. Okay. Nod briefly. Seeing that Simple can play, the little dog had a smile on his face. Although he has a good relationship with Let Me, he naturally leans more towards Simple as his own brother in his heart. Simply put on stage, Let Me was rushed to the hospital by accompanying RNG staff. The commentator, who was chatting awkwardly, received a reminder from the director. Remember to speak in a low voice. I just received a message that RNG is going to undergo personnel replacement, Let Me is offline, and RNG Jian is officially linked. He pronounced out the name loudly. Although he was also very surprised and anxious in his heart, there was nothing he could do about Let Me's physical problems. Are you crazy? Is it a game of life and death where players are replaced? Is this for the substitute to take the blame? Some people who are unaware of the truth are starting to argue wildly online. Changing people in a life and death situation is not a good idea. I would like to inform you that RNG Jian, a player with a simple Chinese name, is a single substitute for RNG Club. This is also his first time playing. Although he is a young player, please let us believe in him and believe that he can bring us miracles. Let's believe in Brother Feng. As the top single of the former royal family, Shen Chao can only speak this way at this time. Although he actually has many questions, there are some things he cannot say on the commentary stage. Okay, let's get back to the game. The blue side is RNG, the Never Give Up royal family, and the red side is LCK's Triple Crown SKT. After a moment of silence, the voice I remember became a little more uplifted and full of passion. First hand, the blue side is still Jess who blocked Huni. The red square also has its own color, and the ban dropped Callista, which cannot be released. There is basically no change in the front three hands on both sides. Isn't this a ban on Galio? Shen Chao spoke out a lot of commentary and audience feedback. A nightmare for all RNG fans this year. Once there was a giant statue at the Zenith, fighting fiercely for 5 rounds to change the imperial mandate. How many people wish they could have different choices? On the contestants' table, he listened nervously and simply to the conversation between the dog and others. Zhaoshuyuan.com. He is really too nervous in his heart, with only a golden level of himself. It's hard to imagine playing at this moment and losing. Easy, can I give you a conceit? The voice of Feng Gu came from the earphone. I can do anything. Although I feel anxious in my heart, I still need a calm response on the surface. After the little dog took the small cannon, the opposite side directly grabbed Gario and the prince, which can also be considered as a hero who grabbed the trigger and blocked the incense pot. And on RNG's side, they were also confident in winning the blind man and the plane. The aircraft of the Tiger General is known as the Tiger 90,000. And the blind man of Xianghua is even more of a signature hero. NAL was taken from the 4th floor across the street. We have won the gem here, so what about Jian? What hero will we give this newcomer as an order? Simple, what do you want to play? Xiaoming looks towards simplicity. Without speaking directly, I looked at the opposing lineup. The Prince and Gario are both entry heroes, while Nal and Lulu have strong abilities to defend the back row and form a team. They are all team fighting heroes. Give me a stone. Okay. Xiaoming responded, found the avatar, and clicked OK. Stubborn as a rock. I have chosen a stone figure, which is a good choice to hold my hand steady. It can be used as a team starter or to protect the back row. Although I feel that the selection of this stone is a bit too timid, the commentators certainly cannot say that, they still need to explain. And they also feel that it's better for newcomers to have a steady hand when they come on stage. The stone man has a big size, as long as he's released, he's not afraid of being suppressed. Chapter 6. You earn blood, I will never lose. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Perhaps one day, we will lose faith in League of Legends and esports, because the Korean domination continues to this day. But I don't think it's today. Perhaps one day, these players we love will no longer be able to persist on stage, but it's not today either. Today RNG is fighting against SKT with blood. Let's enter the Summoner's Canyon. The decisive game begins, let's believe in RNG. Even if there is a strong wind, the royal family will not give up. The winning game, start. Blue square RNG. Stone, blind man, airplane, cannon, gemstone. Red square SKT. Nal, the prince, Gario, policewoman, Lulu. 10 people chose to go online normally, and the final game was decided. They all wanted stability without designing any tricks. After buying the Dolan shield, he controlled the stone man to walk up the road. But he didn't go straight to the line, although it was just a golden level, he also knew what he should do. After waiting for a while at the blue buff and taking a peek, he finally returned to the blue side and climbed into the grass near the tower. He likes to be creepy here when he's on the road. Especially when playing with long-handed heroes like Quinn and Wayne, it can be very advantageous to have a limited field of vision take advantage of short-handed attacks with long hands. Of course, that's in the Golden Bureau. At this moment in the competition, simplicity naturally dares not act recklessly. The military line arrived, and the red side's NAR arrived late. He simply hid in the grass and threw an earthquake fragment, taking some of Hyunhee's health away. He used the stolen movement speed to retreat backwards, not allowing Hyunhee to use NAR's hand advantage to consume himself. After entering the game, simply select the thigh to bind. Undoubtedly, among the 4 teammates, the one who can give him the most sense of security is his own brother. Not only because of his broad chest, but also because of his personal strength. RNG UZI Operation. 98, Positive Peak, Attitude. 85, Proud and Simple in the Wind, Little Dog in the Wind, Desperate. Consciousness. 85, Able to Play and Receive, Team. 85, Able to Eat and Play, Reaction. 97, Positive Peak, Health. 81, Initial Signs, PS. The mentality changes with the progress of the game, and the host can add one of their own attributes to the bound thigh. After binding the thighs, when you see the attributes of UZI, you can only say that the puppy is truly a puppy. Without saying anything else, the operation and reaction are directly full. No wonder some people say that S7 is the pinnacle of his operation. Although many people know that S9 was his strongest overall strength, at that time, his mentality was more mature, and his operation and reaction were ultimately not as good as now. With the attribute bonus of UZI, his strength has also improved slightly. Host. Simple. ID, Jian Operation. 45, plus 9.8, Mentality. 85, plus 8.5, Consciousness. 50, plus 8.5, Team. 60, plus 8.5, Reaction. 75, plus 9.7, Health. 94, Health cannot be accumulated, points. For 21 it doesn't seem to increase much, but when the simple reaction breaks through 80 and the mentality breaks through 90, the original panic disappears completely. At this moment, facing Huni who was crossing the military line to suppress him, he remained simple, very calm. How long can you hold me down? How long do you dare to suppress me? This is not a pedestrian station, it's orphan road on the way. In the competition, what is emphasized on the road is one's personal and worldly wisdom. And during this period, I have been playing high-end games and cannot improve with simple operations, but I have become more experienced. At this moment, Huni's army line is pressing down on people, with a posture of daring to come forward and I will dare to attack you. Although it's prepared to be sleazy, that's not right now. Although NAR has long hands, everyone is at the first level. Why are you so fierce? Just because you're a professional player, I'm just a golden boy. Simply express disagreement. Step forward and hit NAL directly with the Q skill, causing damage while relying on the acceleration effect to run directly towards him. NAR saw that the stone man dared to fight him, threw a dart directly, and then relied on his hand length advantage to level A. Although the stone man is a simple and straightforward person, he is tough enough to bounce out of the stone. More importantly, his passivity is a shield that provides 1/10 of his health. At this point, NAR's attack hit the stone man, causing the stone skin to continuously drop, but the stone man himself did not actually lose much health. On the contrary, after the stone man rushed to NAR's side, he took in the remaining front row soldiers a few times, making Simple feel very comfortable. Except the remaining blood soldiers, and after eating the economy, quickly pulled them apart. Although he was pointed by NAL a few times, he said there was not a big problem. Huni originally thought that Stone was running over with a fierce momentum to fight against him, but to his surprise, Stone Man's target was actually the soldier next to him. Seeing the Stone Man retreat, he was so angry that he chased after him a few more times, causing the Stone Man to lose a lot of health. However, seeing his own health, he furrowed his brow and dared not pursue him anymore, quickly retreating. He attacked the Stone Man, attracting the hatred of the blue side soldiers. Just now, when he was pointing at the Stone Man, the soldiers were pointing at him. It seemed that the stone had been pointed at by himself quite a few times, but in fact, during the small soldiers gathering fire, he was hit by the stone again, and the stone had a shield, so he lost more health. However, Huni is not actually worried about the decrease in health. He is a dual-on sword who has gone out, so he can recover and find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. What he cares about is that he originally wanted to control the army line, but he attracted hatred, so the army line will inevitably advance towards the blue side. He didn't prioritize simplicity. The starting Letme was heavily beaten by himself, let alone being a substitute. After simply replenishing a few soldiers, he distanced himself from Huni and waited for his skills to cool down and his shield to heal before moving forward and consuming it with Huni. Although he would be hit a few more times by the opponent each time, he was offset by the shield. He didn't lose much health on his own, but instead attracted the hatred of the minions, so he didn't take any advantage. After stealing the speed, they rushed over and didn't hit Huni. Instead, they took advantage of the opportunity to repair the knife. Therefore, it seems that NAR had a long hand and a short hand, but in fact, their repair knife did not open. This scene made the commentators couldn't help but laugh. Choosing the stone man is already destined to be violently beaten, and the fact is that it's simply impossible to fight back. But unfortunately, there was no loss. More importantly, the military line is not being controlled and is slowly advancing towards the blue direction. At first, they were worried that Huni relied on his heroic traits to push simplicity out of the experience zone, but it never happened. As long as this balance of development continues, in their view, RNG is already an advantage on the road. Not collapsing on the road is an advantage. On the contrary, Huni's NAR did not gain an advantage, which is a disadvantage. After all, the characteristics and positioning of the two heroes are different. Simply put, this young player came on the field and for the time being, his performance is still good. There was no such thing as being nervous just because of the first appearance, making mistakes, being seized by Hyuni, tearing open a gap on the road, expanding the advantage, and radiating it to the entire field. Chapter 7. Where is the river crab? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Time and time again, but with little effect, the stone man would retreat without a shield, making Hyuni appear a bit irritable. He thought that with his own strength, killing a substitute alone would be an easy task. Judging from the opponent's blade repair, positioning, and consumption, they are not particularly skilled. But unfortunately, facing such a first-time opponent, there was no effect achieved. There was no single kill, only suppressing some soldiers. In Hyuni's opinion, it was not effective. Isn't it normal for NAR to have the advantage of repairing a stone man? On the road, if you hit me and I give you back, your health gradually decreases. Although each person can recover some of it, the replenishment ultimately cannot match the decrease. The decisive game has come, and everyone is playing very steadily. The blind man in the fragrant pot is red blooming, brushing all the way up the road, while the peanut little flower is blue blooming, also brushing all the way up. However, after taking the red buff, little peanut pretended to take a shot, and the prince went straight down. Seizing the mistake of Xiao Ming who went to poke his eyes, he pushed the stick and directly took a hit. Being taken down by the opposite side has brought greater pressure to RNG. The audience at the scene couldn't help but sigh and their hearts became entangled. Mine. Xiao Ming quickly admits his mistake. It's okay, just stabilize it. The other few quickly comforted. At this moment, everyone's spirit is tense, so we can't put pressure on our teammates anymore. After taking a hit, SKT was not in a hurry and continued to match steadily without making any mistakes. On the road, the battle between Stone Man and NAL continues. Along the way to level 6, I was pleasantly surprised to find that I had not died yet. Although I was beaten by NAL for more than 10 times, my economy was a few hundred yuan lower. But as a stone man, if he doesn't die, he already has an effect. At the same time, in front of Simple's eyes, the dotted line reappeared and extended to the vicinity of the dragon pit. Seeing that Xianghua is also in the upper wild area, I am not afraid of simplicity in the dark wild area. Taking advantage of NAR's knife repair, he plunged into the river. Hyuni saw it, but thought he was just trying to get in the eye and didn't pay attention. Of course, if it disappears for a long time, a signal will be sent. At this moment, the Prince of Peanut is entangled with the river crab. Although the river crab will not fight back, it will shift its shape and take a different position. At this moment, the river crab accelerates and rushes towards the direction of the road. Peanut is not in a hurry, of course a river crab will not give punishment to it. However, he never expected that it was precisely because of this idea that he slowly followed behind, and there was still a distance between him and the river crab. After the river crab charged, the distance was not too far, just within his skill range. Seeing a bloody river crab running towards him, he simply threw a stone and walked towards the direction of the military line without looking back. Xiaohuaxing greeted her with a nod. He didn't see anyone, he just saw something flying out of the darkness, and then a big river crab was gone. Mainly, he has a certain distance from the river crab, and there is also a considerable distance between him and the river crab. He accepted it at the limit of the distance of the Q skill, so he did not enter Little Peanut's field of vision. Ultimate working, this is. PDD's mouth opened wide, and his smile couldn't stop. Although I just grabbed a river crab and didn't have much money, it's very frustrating. Seeing Xiaohuaxing's regretful expression made him feel a sense of relief. At this moment, the audience watching the live broadcast is also speaking one after another, which is comfortable. Discovering the location of the opponent's jungle, grabbing a river crab, simply returning to the line and retreating directly to the bottom of the tower, without any aggressiveness. Fortunately, in the river grass, there was his piercing eye, and as soon as Little Peanut's prince came over, he could see it. As for the U Tower. At this time, the prince didn't have a big plan. He was a bit overthinking the tower of the Na Yu Stone Man. Easy, hold on, I'll come right away. Seeing the river crab that had simply snatched a small peanut, Xianghua felt even more satisfied than she had snatched it. Seeing Huni pressing the line, she quickly took the toad and walked towards the river. There is no chance for the middle and lower routes, you can try to open up the situation on the road. As the engine of the jungle and rhythm, he is actually more anxious than anyone at this time. This is the deciding game, and the stage for the finals is within reach. At this point, RNG is still hitting the field linkage. It's not the 4 guarantees and 1 strategy that people remember. The reason why UZI is often protected at this time is because this deformed incense burner version has a louder sound when driving down, and AD only needs 1 or 2 pieces of equipment to have a large output. The true 4 guarantees and 1 strategy is actually that the incense burner version only began to tilt downwards after tasting the sweetness. The ultimate of 4 guarantees and 1 is precisely when it comes to S8. That year, except for the final kick at the door, we won for a whole year. I have won all the championships I can win, except for the most important finals, such as the Spring Championship, MSI, Intercontinental Tournament, Asian Games, and Summer Championship. It is obvious that the time has not yet arrived. Therefore, the fragrant pot will not guarantee its success. The simple idea of returning home to replenish equipment when I was about to finish the production line was dispelled by the words of the fragrant pot. Huni keeps pressing the line, so you can really try to grab it at this position. Playing against the LCK team, the pace is very slow, not as bloody as within LPL. At this moment, there was just a burst of blood on the field. Simply intentionally lay out the line and push the troops towards the bottom of your own tower. Zhaoshuyuan.com. Because the whole game of Huni was tied, I didn't notice anything but something was wrong. Even taking advantage of the advance of the military line, he fiercely pressed forward and tapped the stone man a few times. Although it didn't cause much damage, it knocked out the granite shield of the stone man. Do you have eyes? Arriving near Delongkeng, Xianghua asked a question. There are no eyes in the river, he hasn't been there before, there may be in the upper half. Although the level is not high, I still know if there is any eye contact on the other side. Arrange. Xianghua's eyes lit up as she pressed against the wall and entered the river grass to avoid being caught by the eyes that might exist in the grass behind the dragon pit. Seizing the opportunity, Xianghua threw out a heavenly sound wave and hit Huni perfectly. Seeing the mark on his body, Huni, who was firing artillery soldiers, shook his hand and missed the opportunity to eat this one. But at this moment, he didn't care about these anymore. NAR quickly jumped back and wanted to pull himself apart. But the originally sleazy stone man threw a stone and hit NAR, slowing down his speed while also accelerating himself and running towards Huni. At this moment, the second section of the fragrant pot followed and delivered a meal to NAR. Seeing this scene, NAL felt helpless for a moment. At this moment, he was in a small form, not physically strong, and he was not fully blooded, so facing the siege of the two of them was imaginable. Nevertheless, he didn't want to give up and was still struggling hard. Because his anger is very good, it is almost getting bigger. And the Prince of Little Peanuts is also coming up the road. Faker's Galio even entered the river channel when the fight started. Chapter 8. Constraints. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's uncomfortable, Ferrari didn't get it. A fight broke out, the incense pot took the lead, and Jian followed suit. Huni was stuck, can he leave? He was very angry and was about to get bigger. Several commentators were very nervous. They certainly hope their own team can win. Seeing that NAL is getting bigger and Faker's Gario is also rushing on the road, if NAL delays time and Gario flies over, the result will be hard to say. Hyuni naturally knows this, so she is struggling desperately at this moment. The flash that was not originally intended for use was not pinched anymore. Just when Hyuni flashed, she didn't expect to just land and fly up the next moment. You will lose. With a loud roar, a stone man slammed his head into the ground, directly flying Hyuni's NAR. Nal, who originally had limited health, suffered from residual health and was easily taken away by the fragrant pot. Nice. Xianghua couldn't help but admire this newcomer. This prediction is so handsome. Just now, it was not easy for Hyuni, so they basically have no chance. Because Gario's figure has already appeared in his eye position and is about to fly over. At this moment, Hyuni was killed in action, and without any hesitation, he turned around and returned to the midline. And the Prince of Little Peanut arrived late, so he could only withdraw his troops and continue to infiltrate the wilderness. Xianghua happily left with a huge sum of 300 yuan, and could also go back to replenish his equipment. Without Hyuni's interference, simply and easily accept the troops and go home with a huge sum of money. After adding a pair of shoes and a cloth armor, the stone man's body instantly became much harder. More importantly, with Xiaobing Xian providing him with mana boost, he will now be more comfortable to consume online. I didn't use teleportation, but instead chose to walk back. At this point, Hyuni had already teleported online to collect troops. The big move just now was not a blessing to the soul, but a guide with a dotted line, which is why it was easy to directly amplify the move. He also gained some understanding of the role of dashed lines. Just like a beginner's guide. A particularly long dashed line, like that, basically guides you to the corresponding position, and there will always be benefits when you pass by. And this kind of very short dashed line is basically good for placing skills there. At least he has played dozens of matches, and he already has his own judgment on when to use his skills and when to walk over. From the results, there were no errors either. There is no big move, just continue as before, let Hyuni push the line, and he will repair the sword after the troops come over. But as soon as he has the Q skill, he will throw it directly, even if it's a few clicks by Hyuni, it doesn't matter. There is a passive presence that makes him not afraid to undergo a blood transfusion. And the commentary is now talking about the previous wave of killing. We can see that Faker is approaching the road and is ready to make a big move, and Hyuni also saw Faker arrive, so he used a long-held flash to delay time. As long as Faker arrives, the result will be different. But to our surprise, as a simple player who made their debut at the World Cup, they predicted Hyuni's flash landing point. From the replay, it is evident that Hyuni's flash and Stone Man's ultimate move were mostly used simultaneously. It must be said that this newcomer has a lot of courage and confidence. I couldn't help but feel emotional when I saw the guide replaying thoughtfully, even playing slowly, and the two of them flashing and using their ultimate moves almost simultaneously. This is true confidence. If you make a wrong prediction, you won't know what you'll get sprayed with. A blind person with a head can do things faster and interrupt Hyuni's developmental rhythm, which is certainly a very good thing for RNG. And just now Faker provided upward support, but didn't do anything. Little Tiger's plane took the opportunity and developed a wave of excitement. Originally, the plane and Gario had been developing evenly, and Little Tigers couldn't suppress Faker. However, now they have finally given the blade a slight lead. The situation on the way down is different. Knowing the position of the prince, the little dog and Xiaoming on the way frantically suppressed them, and the small cannon directly ignited the explosion sparks. Although they did not kill the line, it also lowered the health of the Bang female police officer by a considerable amount. Faced with RNG's restless down road duo, the female police officer and Lulu could only step back slightly. On the one hand, it's because I'm playing in the wilderness and on the road, and on the other hand, this health level makes me feel very insecure in front of Uzi. Who would have thought that Uzi had so much courage, jumping with a small cannon and rocket to output on his face, hanging explosive sparks, quickly shooting bombs, and then using the refreshed rocket to jump back. During this process, only a few clicks were made by the female police officer. This is Uzi, the man who even wants to hide from Ping Ye. And the reason why it can be so shameful is, on the one hand, there is no wild interference, and on the other hand, it is because the auxiliary gemstone's body is harder than Lulu's. Even though the female police officer received a drop of blood from the gemstone, she was still crushed by a small cannon. At this point, the SKT duo chose to retreat, largely because it was down to 6, and with the burst of small cannons, it was possible for a set of female police officers with only 2/3 of their health to be defeated in seconds. Once jumped up by a small cannon, the female police officer couldn't even run. I paid a little attention to the next route and focused on the alignment. Faced with Huni, he was under a lot of pressure and sought help from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. After all, the gap in strength lies there. Just because he chose a stone man, it was normal for him to face the suppression of NAL, so his weaknesses in simple matchups were not exposed. As time passed, the economies on both sides were constantly tightening, and no one could pull them apart. At this point, not only RNG, but SKT was also in a hurry. Ching Sun, keep an eye on the stone and don't let him support you. Faker's calm command. If you don't make a decision, fly down. Since we can't break through the situation, let's choose the opposite road as the breakthrough. But the leading teleportation on the road is still a hidden danger, so Huni needs to make it look simple. Got it, brother Xiang He. The leader of the team spoke up, and Huni quickly responded. He raised his spirits and made up his mind not to let this stone man leave his sight. At the same time, be careful to control your anger and control the time for growth. I didn't think too much about it. Compared to professional athletes, his consciousness still lags far behind. The line was not broken, and I was already very restrained. Otherwise, with the strategy of playing in the golden game, regardless of whether he can win or not, the real man will face off on the road, and only the living are qualified to make up for the damage. There is no large-scale team battle, so he doesn't need to pay attention to the movements of others. Honestly, keeping an eye on his opponents is already the limit of what he can do now. And I simply believe in my own thighs. After restraining Huni, I played 4 against 4, and my family was not inferior to the other side. As for Gario flying down the road, he has teleportation and can come down to support at any time. At that time, the big deal will be 5-4, so it seems that his own side has a slight advantage. Chapter 9. Tianfei Xiaopao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After letting Huni catch sight of the stone man, Faker quickly pushed the line and trapped Little Tiger in the middle, while he went straight into the wilderness without a trace. Little Tiger's heart tightened. In the first 4 innings, they all followed the same routine. After Faker pushed the line, he went straight into the field. Sometimes it's wandering in the wilderness, sometimes hiding in the grass to prepare for shade, and sometimes it's just going to support. The middle road is missing. He quickly sent a message. Several times before, it was due to delayed feedback in the middle, resulting in heavy downturns. Be careful on the way down, I'm here, I'm here. Xianghua said and quickly walked down the road. I have tea. Speaking, he simply took in the wave of soldiers in front of him, then took a few steps back and walked into the defense tower. Huni's anger is good. If given a chance, he may be directly hit on the wall and interrupt the teleportation. Xiangigo, the stone has returned to the tower, there is a possibility of teleportation. Huni across from her felt a tightness in her heart, but a little NAL couldn't help but interrupt. Got it. Faker responded with a muffled tone, but did not respond too much. At this moment, the arrow is on the string and it is time to launch. I only saw the Prince EQ enter the second platoon and use a powerful move to frame RNG's down lane duo inside, followed by a giant statue falling from the sky. Once there was a giant statue at the zenith, fighting fiercely for 5 rounds to change the imperial mandate. SKT had already communicated with a few people, and before the arrival of Nakano and the other two, the two on the way had already pushed forward. They rely on their own large number of people to suppress you. And RNG knew that the other side might come to grab it, so they did turtle retraction in advance. Therefore, the military line was directly sent into the tower by the enemy. The little dog's cannon was still trying its best to clear the enemy line. At the moment when the prince's ultimate move came to an end, he was preparing to jump away with a rocket, but Lulu's attention was always on his head, immediately giving him a sheep, making it impossible for the cannon to leave. Then came a Galio descending from the sky. Fortunately, Xiaoming's reaction was also quick, and he had already launched a major move when the opponent launched an attack. The radiance of the universe requires a few seconds of foresight, and just as it happens, it also takes a few seconds for Galio to take off and land. During this time, although Puppy and Xiaoming were output by the opposite side, they were not instantly captured under the tower. When Galio falls, the cosmic radiance also falls directly, followed by a complete 2.5-second invincibility. Although it's not like a 5-second real man like the Barbarian King, at this point, 2.5 seconds is already very crucial. A bald man emerged from the river channel, only to be seen touching his eyes and getting closer, kicking onto the female police officer standing behind, and then swinging his tail directly. The female police officer's attention was focused on the two small cannons. The blind man drove too suddenly, and in the moment he appeared, he approached directly and kicked over. Suddenly, a string of 2 shots kicked the female police officer and Lulu into the defense tower. The prince, who was fighting against the tower, had already exceeded half of his health by this time and quickly retreated outside. Stubborn as a rock. A dull cry came, and then a huge figure flew out of the nearby grass and collided with the defense tower, instantly causing all 4 people to jump. At this point, the small cannon directly hangs a bomb on the female police officer's head and then outputs it. With rapid shooting, his attack speed is very fast, and coupled with being under the defense tower, his control skills on the opposite side are almost complete, so he can freely output. Drop the bomb, refresh the rocket jump, and he sits down dead on the bloodless prince. At this point, the target of the defense tower's attack became the female police officer. Faker saw the stone man on the way coming over and knew that something was impossible. He wanted to mock a few people and give the 2 people on the way a chance. However, at this moment, RNG ignored him, and the female police officers who directly gathered fire and pushed sticks did not give him a chance to struggle. Even if Lulu gave him the ultimate move of wild growth, it would not help him gain a few hundred more health. The small cannon that has already jumped up, no one can limit its output at this time. Triple kill. After the policewoman fell, Lulu then fell. Faker looked at the situation and ran straight towards the direction of the river. But just now, after taking Lulu and winning the 3 kills, the small cannon was full of killing intent. They would be willing to let him go, jump over a long distance, and with the help of others, take Faker's head. Quadra kill. Nice. After winning the 4 kills, the little dog couldn't help but scream. Little dragon, little dragon. Suddenly, over 1,000 yuan was received, causing the small cannon to take off in an instant. A few people turned to attack the small dragon, and then the next tower was worn down by about half of its health before flying away. Although he didn't get ahead, he got 4 assists, which made him feel good. As for Huni, he was eating his troops on the road and grinding his defense tower, gaining quite a bit of health. Let it be. Anyway, it's simple and I don't expect myself to beat him. That's good, let the little dog get fat. As long as your thighs are fat, just let them fly. Simply put, he is familiar with this kind of competition because of his previous ranking, which is how he won. Just received the dotted line prompt, he didn't hesitate and chose to teleport directly. Even when he teleported, Faker's Galio had not yet taken off. It was also for this reason that he landed in Faker's Galio, almost without doing much to find the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Then, a big move flashed, and Xianghua kicked the two of them down the road, completing the feat of raising 4. The two of them actually didn't communicate, they just unintentionally completed a collaboration. But it was precisely because of this that the small cannon was given the opportunity to harvest. After taking down the 4 heads at this point, not only did they expand their economy by 2,000 on the economic panel, but more importantly, as a small cannon in the C position, they gained weight. With 4 heads in hand, after the small cannon returned home and replenished its equipment, its output ability was no longer on the same level as the female police officer. Although the simple support resulted in losing a lot of blade replacements, with 4 assists, the economy was not really expanded too much. After returning to the city, I replenished my equipment and returned to the line. Although the tower on the road was already on the verge of collapse, with only 1/3 of its health remaining, it was almost worn down by Hyuni. But at this moment, the stone man was under the defense tower, and others couldn't have any thoughts about him. A pure meat stone man, a NAR, is really not easy to take action without control skills. Hyuni was even more anxious. He was caught before and used the teleportation to go online. However, due to this TP difference, this mistake occurred. Although none of his teammates spoke, Hyuni knew that if he lost this game, he would definitely be executed. He shuddered at the thought of the coach roaring at him, and his heart was even more eager to give him an advantage. After all, he clearly felt that simple alignment was poor and did not put any pressure on himself. But it's someone whose strength is not as good as oneself, and now he has 5 assists in hand, but he has made no progress. Chapter 10. Welcome to LOL. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Faker has already rushed down the road, SKT is ready to take action. On the commentary stage, remember that the expressions of PDD and Xinqiao were all a bit nervous. RNG should be on the alert, and the blind man from Xianghua is also rushing down the road. Xia Huaxing took the initiative, the Prince Geda, and Galio had a position and flew down directly. The little dog wanted to jump away, but unfortunately, it was transformed into a sheep by Lulu. The fragrant pot came out of the river, touched its eyes, and kicked it to the bang. It's good, beautiful, a string of 2, kicked it to 2. Remember to explain at a fast pace. What's the situation? How could there be a stone man here? PDD exclaimed in surprise. The blind man in the incense pot kicked 2, thinking that even if he had to die on the road, he could at least change his head and not be at a disadvantage. Unexpectedly, an additional stone man came out, which made the situation difficult to say. Where did the stone man come from? He grew up 4 times, and the puppy started harvesting. SKT no longer has anyone to limit the puppy's output. Congratulations to RNG for winning this team battle, UZI won 4 kills. After a pause, calm down your excitement and remember to continue explaining. We can see in the replay that while Gario was still on his way, there was a teleportation light in the grass next to the tower on Blue Square Road. Faker flew directly down the road, so they didn't know about this teleportation in the grass. Xianghua arrived and kicked the 2 of them into the defense tower. The stone man fell into place and didn't have time to walk over. He flashed and pulled in the distance before using his big move to bump into the 4 of them. This wave of cooperation between the 2 in the upper field was so beautiful, yeah, it's so beautiful. This newcomer is really brave. He doesn't even care about the upcoming troops entering the tower, he just wants to teleport to protect the way down, but he did it. Not only did he break the barrier of the way down, but he even helped the puppy win the 4 kills. PDD is amazed. He also placed orders, and when he asked himself about his profession, he definitely couldn't achieve this level. It's not a matter of daring or not, but rather not losing oneself so much and helping teammates. Now that the puppy is so fat, the pressure has come to SKT's side, and the puppy's small cannon will be a point they cannot handle. Although the Crown Prince and Gario can enter the field, the small cannon has a jump, and the gemstone's ultimate move can protect them. Xiaopao also had a smile on his face. As an old teammate of the puppy, he was certainly happy to see his former companions continue to gallop on the field. Although there may be some regrets in my heart. His best years were spent in North America. Online, seeing RNG gain an advantage, a large number of viewers are extremely happy. Especially for newcomers who originally thought they would take the blame on the field, they couldn't help but be impressed. How can you not tell the alignment? After all, NAL and Stone Man can still make a flower out of alignment. On the contrary, the support really amazed them. And every time the Stone Man swims, it can have an effect, which is worth looking forward to. Is Xiaohu doing magic? At this moment, some people were also asking, saying that even the Stone Man on the road had to come to help him get off the road even if he lost the line. Little Tiger's plane let a Galio push the line first and let it go. Even after Galio left, he remained motionless on the line. This naturally makes the audience dissatisfied. At least you pushed the line and walked down the road. 5 games, 5 Galio games. People who don't know why will ask why Galio should be released. But understanding people know that there is no other choice but Gario. Faker, do other heroes dare to play? Faced with Gario, it's already like this. If it's wandering or something like that, shouldn't Little Tiger break the line? I didn't mention it before, but without comparison, there is no harm. Newcomers know how to do it when they first place an order, and the comparison comes out immediately. However, these online comments simply cannot affect the 10 people on stage. 4 packs and 2 losses, instead giving the small cannon 4 kills, allowing him to take off completely. At this point, SKT can only continue to shrink and wait for opportunities. Unable to move down the road, Faker's gaze turned to the up road. Xiaopao is very fat. Even if it's 4 packs and 2, he or Xiao Peanut's Prince Anti-Tower may not be able to withstand a round of Xiaopao's output. Once he jumps up, it's uncertain who will kill who. The Little Tiger on the middle road is also not very active. After all, the middle road is too short and the plane has displacement. Gario and the prince may not be able to arrest him. On the contrary, it is a stone on the road, and he thinks it will be a breakthrough for RNG. New players coming on stage means less experience and better targeting. And although Stone Man is flesh, it is not too flesh during this time period. The 3 of them took turns fighting against the tower, and there was no problem. Ride the smoke and control your anger. After making up his mind, Faker directly signaled to Huni to undergo military training for this newcomer to be listed. Received. Upon receiving Faker's instructions, Huni became excited. Faker's words mean he's ready to take action on the road. At this moment, Faker was frantically pushing the line in the middle, and Little Peanut's Prince was also rushing towards the road. At this moment, I don't know about this yet. He is just peacefully developing with Huni, and the 2 of them are going back and forth, not fiercely fighting each other. Simplicity is self-awareness, knowing that one does not have that strength, so there is no killing intention, while Huni has a killing intention in vain, but somewhat powerless. The middle road is missing. Xiaohu sent a message, and he himself leaned towards the lower road. After receiving the news, the 2 puppies pushed the line and retreated, in a safe position even if someone came over. As for the simplicity of getting on the road, there is already a defense tower behind it, so there is no need to retreat at this time. Huni pushed the line crazily, but he didn't care about his anger anymore. It seems that the other side is coming to catch me. My simple heart tightened and I had a bad premonition. He just said this in the team, and when he looked for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, he saw a figure wearing gold armor in the grass behind a tower. Ignoring it, he entered the tower. Although there was no one who lifted the stone, he pulled in the distance and used a big trick to trap him inside. At this moment, Nar, who had just completed his transformation, rushed forward and slapped him on the stone wall of the prince's ultimate move with a Buddha palm. Simple without any operational space. At the same time, a huge circle appeared, followed by Gario descending from the sky. Fortunately, at this point, Simplicity had already recovered and quickly retreated. 3 people came to catch him, and he knew he was doomed. At this moment, all he wanted was to try to replace him as much as possible. Q hit the prince, lowering his health while stealing his speed, making the simple speed a bit faster. Brother, you seek your own blessings. Upon seeing the situation, Xianghua realized that there was no need to save him. He ran directly to the opposite wilderness area and cleaned it up before proceeding. Gario landed, surrounded by a ring of mockery. Fortunately, he simply stole the prince's movement speed and ran very fast at this time, already widening the distance and not being mocked. Faker certainly won't give up. At this moment, if he punches directly, he will forcibly take the stone man. They took turns fighting against the tower, that's enough no matter what. The prince only has 1/3 of his health left, and the defense tower is getting more and more painful as he hits it. He dare not carry it anymore. He quickly retreated outside and saw that he couldn't leave the attack range of the defense tower. In this way, he would inevitably be hit twice more. His current health can only withstand it. Peanut can only be forced to surrender the flash, attack the edge of the defense tower, and enter the adjacent river grass. Previously on the way down, he died too quickly, so he didn't even pay in a flash.